The sky isn't falling just yet, but if you're a Florida condo owner, particularly here in Broward or Palm Beach County, you're definitely going to want to hear this. I've been doing a ton of number crunching recently, and there is no denying it any longer. The condo market is shifting. So what does this mean for condo owners here? I'll break it all down for you in my South Florida condo market update. But before we get started, I'm Larry Mastrapuri, broker owner of the Mastrapuri Group based right here in South Florida. And if you enjoy this content, please don't forget to give us a like, hit the subscribe button so you can stay in tune with everything that's going on in our area. It's important to note the data we're going over here pertains to Broward and Palm Beach County only. That doesn't mean there aren't other parts of Florida that are experiencing a similar market shift. I just want to be super clear about where the data is being sourced from. So let's take a look. What you're seeing here are the total number of condo listings for those two counties. Generally speaking, you would expect to see the trend line of active listings run parallel to the trend line of pending sold listings in a stable market. But starting right around the end of the summer in 2023, there was a noticeable uptick in the amount of active listings, which would still be okay if pending/sold listings trended upward as well. But as you can see, they haven't. In which case, you may assume that sales prices have dropped off also, and that actually wouldn't be a very unreasonable assumption. The good news for condo owners right now is they haven't, at least not yet anyway. Let's take a look at the recent price trend data over the past year. It's surprisingly consistent, and I've always included the median sales price as well because it's not uncommon to have some statistical anomalies that can throw off the averages at any given point in a data set. So in light of the noticeable jump here in listings, sales prices are holding strong for the time being, which is kind of surprising. At this point, you're probably thinking, well, that's great, Larry. Prices are stable. I guess there's nothing to worry about, right? Well, honestly, I wish that was true, but there are other trends here that really can be concerning if you're a potential condo seller or buyer here in South Florida. And to kick off the list of concerning stats, we'll start with the sale to original list price ratio, which for any of you who are unfamiliar with that term, it's essentially the sales price when divided by the listing price. There was a time just a couple years ago where homes were selling for way more than what they actually were listed for because the demand was so high. But that was then, and this is now 2023 into the early parts of 2024. And in normal market conditions, you would expect the sale to original list price ratio to not be 100+%. But remember the active listings trend that started around the end of the summer. As inventory climbs, as we've seen in the other trend lines, it doesn't take long for the sale to original list price ratio to follow suit in the other direction. Obviously, as more inventory hits the market and demand either remains fixed or starts to drop, you're obviously going to see prices start to come down. In the same vein, more competition, more homes on the market means that homes are going to stay on the market longer if the demand doesn't increase with it. And there has been a sizable increase in the latter part of 2023 into 2024. To give you some perspective here, the average days on market for condos in Palm Beach and Broward County in February last year was 54 days. 1 year later, it's going up. And now I don't want to harp on this too much to skew your perception of what's happening in this condo market here in South Florida, but I think it's very important for you to understand what statistics we keep track of and why we do it. When condos are spending that much time on market, there's clearly a much slower absorption rate, which can also be referred to as months of inventory. And if you've seen any of my other market update videos, you'll remember this. The quick and dirty definition of absorption rate is, without adding any new homes to the market and the current rate of sales stays steady, how many months will it take for the current inventory to completely sell out? That's how we define it. Generally, when that rate is below 6 months, it's considered a seller's market. It's a good time to sell, prices are going up. When it's over 6 months, it's a buyer's market. While we did rise into buyer's market territory in early last year, recent history had South Florida as a seller's market across the board. Now that time is definitely over and behind us for condo owners here in Palm Beach and Broward County. The beginning of 2024 had inventory absorption rates at 10 months, which is actually record territory. This is absolutely becoming a very strong buyer's market for condo owners in South Florida, and I fear what happens after the high season ends and we trend into the summer. The condo market has absolutely shifted. That part has become abundantly clear. But let's keep three main points in mind before we look at these next final stats. First, more condos are on the market than we've ever seen recently. Second, those condos are taking much longer to sell, almost doubling in the last year. The overall sales price has been pretty consistent throughout all of this now, but if we take that logic into total sales volume over the same time period, I said February through May is typically the busiest time of the year for home transactions, and it shows right here again. Notice how after those hot months, the volume dips, but is relatively stable. Even comparing the beginning of 2023 to the start of this year, they're very similar. Those are all the figures I'm going to throw in your face for today. Thank you for toughing it out. But as you know, anyone can stare at charts. You're probably wondering, what are my takeaways from all of this? And that's fair enough. Here are my professional opinions based on the stats and what I'm experiencing in the field with our condo listings right now. There is an extremely strong likelihood that we'll see a downward trend in prices rather than an increase over the next 6 months to a year. I'm already experiencing this with our current active condo listings right now. Don't let that median sales chart fool you. That's suggesting that prices are stable. Remember, that is a lagging indicator, and the other graphs that we reviewed are leading indicators, such as days on market, months of inventory. Those paint a much scarier picture for the future of condo sales. This next part is really advice for anyone who's thinking about selling, and the advice I give my sellers. I'm convinced right now that by taking the lead and selling first in this market, it really puts you at an advantage by being ahead of the competition. This proactive approach not only sets a precedent, but also capitalizes on current market conditions for optimal outcomes. If you wait for the competition to accept lower offers, it's going to ultimately place you, here the seller, in a very reactive stance, which means making necessary price reductions to match the new benchmarks set by the recently sold properties in the market. It's not ideal. This scenario is commonly referred to as the race to the bottom or even circling the drain. Now, for those sellers who don't have that pressure to sell immediately, remember this: the market dynamics are influenced by those that have the urgency. When those sellers accept lower offers, their transactions establish the new benchmarks for the market pricing. The extent of that trend toward lower pricing will be shaped by the balance of rising inventory against waning demand. You get the idea here. Now, if you want to learn a little bit more about what's causing this crazy change in the condo market, check out some of our other videos on YouTube regarding the condo crisis. And that really just about does it for this South Florida condo market update for Broward and Palm Beach County. I'm Larry Mastrapuri, broker owner of the Mastrapuri Group here in South Florida. I hope this information was useful. Please, if you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel to stay up to date on everything that's going on here in our South Florida market.